So in today's video I'm going to share with you my diverse 10-year career journey from public sector to sports technology company.
So welcome to ProfileTree TV, and today we're joined by Gareth Quinn from Kairos. So thank you very much for coming in and having a chat with us today to tell us all about your project. You would mind just giving us a little bit of your background and what you're doing at the moment?
Yeah, background's quite, I suppose, weird and varied. Kieran and I started off, I went to university and did computing and information systems back in the day. Got kicked out of university, had to repeat. Actually didn't even repeat, I had to drop from the degree to the HND. So I decided to do that part-time and as part of that got a job in the public sector. So we spent the next 10 years of my life really working in the public sector in the City Hall, the Lord Mayor's office. And while I was there, still had the passion for technology sort of rumbling around somewhere. Did an MBA, a business qualification, whilst in City Hall, and that gave me a bit more of appetite for business. And then sort of realised that, good job in City Hall and working with some great people, but how was I going to get back into business and technology, get into business and technology? And I suppose there was two drivers for what I did, which was this thing called Digital DNA. And one of the drivers was for me personally, I operated within a bubble in City Hall. So how was I going to build up my relationships and knowledge of business and technology outside of that was one of the drivers. And then the other driver was this arguably altruistic view, if you like, of that based on my sort of work within the City Council, was that the more wealth we could bring into Northern Ireland, the more we dilute our socio-economic political issues, albeit with guys up on the hill who might help make some sensible decisions around that. And the idea there was that, well, if more businesses harness technology and provided their services and products internationally, the more wealth we get back in here and the stronger position we would be in. So those two drivers, whilst working in City Hall, was why I thought, look, I'll create Digital DNA. And the plan was, it was September 2013, the idea was a one-off event. And it just sort of spiraled, to be honest. We ended up just getting some really lucky breaks. We got a sponsor from NYSE Technologies. They provided the trading software for the New York Stock Exchange. They then wanted their CEO to come over and speak at it, which was great. That raised the profile. Other sponsors wanted to get involved. And all of a sudden, this little event, as it was supposed to be, ended up becoming something, a lot bigger then. It still only was, I think it was shy of 300 people in year one, so it wasn't that big an event on the grand scale of things. And for me, it was a bit of a play thing, I was just having a bit of fun with it. And then at that first event as well, we run a program for young people. Run an event for young people. So the idea was in a side room in Titanic Belfast, whenever the CEO of the New York Stock Exchange finished speaking, whenever Gail Power from Facebook finished speaking, and the guy from Google, we brought them in to engage with the young people. And they were 13, 14 years of age. We worked with an organisation called Sentinus at the time. And Sentinus, they help deliver the STEM agenda in schools. So Bill Connor, a great guy in there, so what do you want to do, And I said, I just want to inspire the kids and I want to showcase to them the role that technology will play and I want to create some sort of entrepreneurial spirit. So anyway, that event, that young people's event, one of the teams from Cookstown High School went on and done amazing things, created their own app, their own product, run Junior Dragon's Den, Buckingham Palace. So all of a sudden this play thing, for want of a better word, Digital DNA, in year one, supposed to be a one-off event, ended up, sort of had to do it again in 2014, and we did a tourism focused event then as well, and then it just it's grown over this past few years.
Incredible. And to what it is today, which is like, the brand, when it's on, going to it as well, it's incredible. It's such a brand that's been built, and I can't believe it's only, so 2013 was the first year?
2013 was the first year, yeah, and it's strange, people talk about how strong the brand is, and I remember where the title Digital DNA came from. I remember the first logo, which looks very different from what it does now, and I don't know how the brand has got so strong. There was just a gap in the market, I guess, at that point in time, and I think the importance of partnerships and the companies and the different organisations that we've worked with over this past 5 years, I just really helped grow that brand. So it is a wee bit strange looking at it and seeing what it has become.
It's amazing, and it's a big passion, I'm sure, as well, and the cause, what you wanted to achieve over the years, and you're achieving it year on year, and I can't wait to see the next iteration.
Yeah, well, that's it. Like, I think, and people look at it and say, oh, look, it's grown from year on year, and as if I had this plan and this whiteboard and it was all drawn out.
The best plan, 5-year plan you've ever had.
Exactly, yeah. There was nothing like that. People don't see, like in 2014, like you know, I had left City Hall. I was a year in, like, you know, financially, everything. I thought I would be able to leave the job in City Hall and go out and sort of cut my own teeth. You know, and digital DNA was never meant to, you know, to be part of that. But I got a stark lesson, which was that I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I did an MBA, you know, I was lucky I was able to spell MBA, never mind apply any of that theory. So I had a stark lesson 12 months in, whereby like I was on my knees, you know, and looking and saying, what am I doing? So, and then again, you know, serendipity, call it whatever you want, for whatever reason, something happened and something else happened. But it wasn't all plain sailing, you know, and the event that we have now, you know, I've now stepped back from Digital DNA. Is run by a phenomenal team, and I went to last year's event, and I saw the room set up for the first time, like every other delegate, you know, walking in at 8:30 that morning, and I was blown away, and like to see I don't know what the number, 2,500 people over 2 days, you know, you sort of sit back and go, how did it even happen, you know, but I think down to the partnerships and the amazing team is really what it's all been down to, you know, me interfering every so often, you know, arguably helped a little bit.
Brilliant. So I'm just thinking, as you're saying and explaining the trials and tribulations, so I'm just thinking, so it's an easy overnight success.
That's what people put it down to, but they don't realise, you know, and the amount of mistakes that you make as you go, you know, and like one of the watershed moments for me was in 2015. We partnered with an organisation, Brian Corey, business partner there, they invested into the company, and they brought a world of expertise that I didn't even know existed, you know. So again, you know, like I'd be an advocate of, you know, like a lot of people go and will do the thing by themselves, but for me, like my lesson is having somebody really strong alongside you, who can challenge you, you know, who can encourage you. That's been a massive help to me, and you know, and even in the new venture that we have, working alongside somebody again who offers that to me as well, you know, and I now know that's just the way that I like to work, you know.
Yeah. And I understand the benefits of that, because like at the end of the day, it's partnerships. It just brings to the yin and yang. If you get it right, it's incredible. The outcome from it is amazing. Definitely. You mentioned a new partnership, a new venture.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk us through or tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it's been on the go very quietly for about 2 years now, you know, so we've been keeping it sort of very low key. And it was born 2 years ago, a guy who I got to know, he's an ex-Irish Ulster rugby player, a guy, Andrew Trimble. He was playing rugby at the time, and he came to me and he just sort of said, look, at the minute in Ulster rugby, all of our scheduling, all of the planning that's done for the team, it's all done on a whiteboard in Kingspan Stadium. Players come in, they you know, they go in and there's a massage board and a physio board, and you go in, you hand write in, you know, what slot you want. And although it worked fine, Andrew couldn't help think that, well, you know, there's a lot of moving parts still to that, and if you remove all of those moving parts and arguable inefficiencies that exist that come with a whiteboard, and if you're able to digitize that in some way, could you allow the individual player and then the players collectively to perform better come match day? So we've been entering into an era, you know, over this past decade of a very methodical, engineered approach to performance, whereby talent isn't enough. You know, and Andrew would be a big advocate of that, especially working under the likes of people like Joe Schmidt. So what we wanted to do was to work out, well, how do we empower and enable an elite athlete to own their plan, which would allow them to better execute come game day, which is what it's all about now in terms of that methodical planning. So we started a process of engaging quite intensively with the market. You know, the usual suspects as you would expect through Andrew, with the Ireland Rugby, the Ulster Rugby, Munster, Leinster, numerous rugby clubs in England and Wales. We also engaged with the soccer market. So we went to the Etihad campus in Manchester City, which was just phenomenal to see how they operate. And again, they experienced the same problem as Ulster Rugby. So over that period of 2 years, we've done a lot of market engagement, tried to get a really good understanding of what the market wanted. And then in January, just over a year, or under a year ago, we started to build out the solution. So we spent a lot of time doing that. We've now got the solution in market, so it's now being used by a couple of professional sports clubs. Feedback is all very positive. We're closing an investment round as we speak in the next week or 2 weeks. And again, partnerships have been a really important part of that, you know, but that's the new venture and that's what we're doing at the minute.
Incredible. So you've seen another opportunity and you've went for it. And
yeah, like Andrew saw the problem, you know, he experienced it day and daily, and whenever he came to me and said to me, look, how can we do this a little bit you know, more effectively, I ignorantly said, what's everybody else doing, you know? And he then said how he looked a little bit and nobody else really had a solution. Then I said, well, look, I have a few contacts in soccer, football across the water. I'd go and ask them and suss it out, and the feedback was there was nothing there that did what we thought we could do. So that's where it came from. So again, we weren't sitting brainstorming for a week on what it might be. It was just asking ignorant, obvious questions, and that's just where I suppose how we've got to where we are at the minute with a long way to go, granted, but.
Almost the way. And how did you find the development and the process of getting it into the market? Was it as fun as it might be, or through contacts and connections and partnerships you've already built, you were able to leverage?
Like I really enjoyed it, and I know it doesn't go. People go through different journeys with it. I suppose because of the relationships that I built up through Digital DNA, and if you think back to as if it was all planned, it wasn't.
Exactly.
But
best 5-year plan ever.
Exactly, yeah, and that helped massively because there was two things that helped. I think that the fact that the first year of this, whenever Andrew and myself were looking at it, we spent so much time engaging with the market. One, to make sure we were onto something. That gave us a really good understanding of what the market wanted. So that meant that whenever we came to actually building out the prototype, the MVP, call it what you like, we felt we had a decent idea as to what the market wanted. And part of the problem I think that a lot of startups have, based on things that I've seen, is that they don't fully understand the market need. Now, time will tell whether we've got that right or not, but I think the fact that we had spent so much time doing that helped us. I also think we were very lucky that we engaged early on with the company called Dawson Andrews in Belfast. So they're a digital product studio. They did a lot of work globally, starting to do a little bit more work here locally, and they helped take what was in my head and Andrew's head and put that into what would this look like in the form of an app that Sergio Aguero will hold in his hand at some point. So they were phenomenal right through from that early concept right through to building it out. We were also very fortunate working alongside TechStart Northern Ireland. So we worked with the guys in there, Audrey and Jamie and Hal. We went to them early on with the idea. They had a proof of concept, so we got 10k from them. We used that to build out the visuals, just to validate what we were up to. And then we got the proof of concept plus, and we used that to actually get a product. So that proof of concept journey has allowed us to get something into a professional sports club. So we were able to make that stretch. I think Andrew being from Ballymena, me being from just outside Kilkeel, there's a tightness that comes with making sure that the money will go as far as possible as well, which has arguably helped us too. And we're now very focused, as I said, closing out this round of investment. We've just hired our VP of engineering, who started on Monday. So we're very excited about where it's going, but we're not disillusioned, I don't think, by how much hard work lies ahead.
And again, you mentioned some of the support, as you say, TechStart, incredible as well, and all the investment that they've done.
Yeah.
And the proof of concept is a great scheme, so to get you started.
Yeah, it's phenomenal, and I know that it's very easy for people to, to complain about the support generally that exists in Northern Ireland, but like the support that we've got, and it's not just TechStart writing a check, it's the advice that you get that we've got from those guys as well, and the connections and things as well. And like, I just think because Northern Ireland is so small, I think it's a phenomenal place to set up a company. Now there are issues there with funding being available, and you do have to go outside Northern Ireland, arguably, to try and find that. But the support, and even there's a company in Newry, which a lot of people have heard of, called StatSports, and we met with StatSports about 3 or 4 months ago, and Andrew and myself went down for an hour, a cup of coffee with their CEO Alan Clark. We ended up sitting there for 4.5 hours with Alan. Alan was bringing in different people in his team, and he just wanted to help out. And now from that point, we've now got a formal partnership in place with StatSports. And StatSports provide their product to the market. What we provide is very complementary. That's not missed on StatSports. StatSports have got the market that we want access to, and that's now what we're utilising now is that relationship to say, well, how do we work in partnership with StatSports to add value to what they do, and clearly them adding value to us, and then utilising their network to allow us to access market at pace, So, yeah, lots of very good support, not just from the public sector, but also individuals and companies out there as well.
Amazing. So it's down to people and
completely, and
connections and
yeah, exactly. And back to good job in City Hall, and realising then that if I was organising a dinner for the Lord Mayor at the time, that whenever we sat 28 people around the Lord Mayor's parlour, for someone like me who maybe arguably would have sat in the corner of that room, just to hear some of the conversations that were going on because two people sat beside each other for 2 or 3 hours, and the power of relationships. And that was the eye-opener to me. And going back to what I said earlier, my thing with Digital DNA was, well, if this event can help me build up my relationships and knowledge in business and technology, that was the very loose notion that I had. So for me, it's like it's all about relationships, you know.
Amazing. So and you've had 2 successful launches already. Oh, we chalked this one off as well. Slam dunk. I'm wondering where do I invest? Is the round closed already? So we talk about that after. So two amazing business opportunities in 5 years, which is rare in itself. Any advice to anyone that's thinking of starting a business or going down the same route?
Yeah, I think like first of all, I would say that people looking at the outside into businesses, you know, they see the bit that arguably, you know, the bit you want to present, whether that's for, you know, to get more customers involved, to grow the brand or whatever, but you know, they don't see the difficulties and the challenges that come underneath that, you know. And with Kairos and with Digital DNA, Digital DNA was an unbelievable journey and something I'm still part of, which is great. Um, Kairos, I think I've been able to enjoy it more because I know that whenever you do get a knockback, you can bounce back, which was a massive learning curve. You know, you go back to August, September 2014, it was a deep, dark place, you know, and like, you know, looking back now, I go, well, I know that if I ever go into that, if I have to go into, and people have been in worse situations than me, but if I'm ever in that place whereby it looks very bleak, I know that I can bounce back. So that's useful to have. In terms of advice, my thing that I was always and still do to an extent is overcomplicate things, you know. So whether you're looking at business finances, whether you're looking at marketing, whether you're looking at how to communicate your message to the ultimate buyer of your product or service, I always had a tendency to overcomplicate that, you know. And my thing is that, you know, and it's, you know, a term that's overused in terms of trusting your gut. Sometimes the first thing you think of is arguably going to be the best way to do things, you know. So I had an issue of overcomplicating it, looking at the theory, looking at, you know, reading Harvard Business Reviews, which is worth reading obviously, and overcomplicating how to find a solution to something. So that would be the first thing, is don't overcomplicate it. And the second thing then is the relationship piece. Like I've asked so many people for help over the years, you know, and like I left City Council, City Hall in 2013, and I spent 3 years in coffee shops, you know, meeting with people all the time and sussing out them and trying to work out, well, what is their motivations? And if their motivations and my motivations aligned, then there's a potential win-win. So again, I think there's sometimes a reluctance to ask for help, and people think that by asking for help, you know, that person's going out on a limb. But if you can find that win-win whereby them helping you helps them, you know, so again, I would look for that. And you look at what we're doing with Stat Sports. If you had said to me and Andrew 9 months ago, you know, you could be in partnership with Stat Sports, we would have said, well, what use are we to them? You know, and all of a sudden we're now seeing that we can complement what they do. There's a lot of work to be done to get there, but again, you know, having that conversation and seeing where the synergies lie.
Incredible. There's so many opportunities. And so again, your product, is it live now so people can go and check it out, or have you launched?
Yeah, so it's closed. The only people that will use what we have is it's not a consumer play. So, you know, at the minute we've got professional sports clubs. So the people in the club that would have access to that would be the admin, the head coaches, the medics, and the players themselves.
Very good.
So they've all got access at that moment. You can go on the App Store and you can see it. You can download it, but you won't have the credentials to log into it. But yeah, so that's where it is at the moment.
Incredible. So you've a very defined target audience then as well.
Yeah, we've and it's good and bad in that, you know, our market is niche. You know, and it's a business to business play. You know, looking to engage with elite sports clubs. Initially, we were saying professional. We actually realised, well, it's not just professional. We're now starting to work with Boston University, specifically around ice hockey, and that's a collegiate model. So we've identified the collegiate system as being a massive market for us as well. So it's a niche solution to an arguably niche elite professional market, which allows us to be very focused, which is good. But and again, you know, learning from Stat Sports, you're in the exact same play as us, with that particular market, you know. So yeah.
Incredible. So I'm going to be watching out for the news clippings on the growth in the coming years. So you mentioned just at the start, obviously, university. You left university.
Not by choice.
Yeah, stop. And then you continue with H&D. I've H&D as well, back in the day. University is still important because you're talking about you're in City Hall, amazing job, but you actually wanted to get out into commercial business. So how important is university today, do you think, then still? Is it?
Yeah, I think it's vitally important. Like for me, you know, to be honest, completing I did the HND and then the degree. I think me failing that first year really, really miserably was probably the biggest lesson that I got, far way beyond getting the 2-1 in the degree or whatever it was. So the lessons of university, I don't think is just in terms of those numbers that you get at the end of it, or the letters. And for me, like the MBA as well was was phenomenal for me, and learned quite a lot. But I think what was more valuable than even the content was the relationships that were built up as part of that. And secondly was the confidence that I got. So even though I went from the HND, did the degree part time ultimately in the end, it was only the MBA that whenever I ultimately did it, and did quite well in it, that was my point where I realised I can do whatever I want. It sounds very pompous to say, but I think everybody can if they really, really want to. Yeah. So it was the theory and all of that was good, but you call it life lessons, call it whatever you want. But for me, that was really, really important. So I think, like, my wife's a teacher, and some of the stuff that she does, with debating societies in school and cross countries, and the life lessons she's given kids is ridiculous. So to get that through an education system, what I would say, my challenge to some of the, especially at that third tier, is just making sure the balance is there between the theory and the practical. Mm-hmm. And through Digital DNA, we set up a program which was it was focused around 3 modules. We worked with Ulster University to provide it: management, leadership, and strategy. And the concept was, well, university are really bang on the theory and the academic side of things, and Digital DNA have got a good grasp on the industry, so let's merge those 2 things together. And that's been very successful for Digital DNA. So, and again, that was, probably inspired by a glass or 2 of wine one night in the house, but the idea, well, why don't we just do that in partnership, So I think it works really well. My challenge is to make sure that practical application is there throughout. And I think the university system, is continually having to check itself, but whenever you've got some of the big companies in Belfast now who are saying to 17, 18-year-old girls and boys, you want to be involved in tech, don't go to university, come work for us, and while you work for us, we will put you through the course. And after your 3 years, you'll have your degree, which you would have anyway, but you'll also have 3 years of experience. You mightn't have a student loan if you don't want to go down that road, etc. So I think universities is going to be a challenge to them, and I think they'll deal with it quite well, but they're going to have to sort of look and see what industry's doing and sort of say, well, how do we, again, it's competition, how do we compete against that and have them coming to us, and not doing that, going into industry directly,
It's interesting, isn't it, that the commercial sector is actually going to pull maybe education, which is maybe it's such a big beast that it takes longer.
Completely.
Change direction and strategy.
Definitely, and that work's been going on. Like what Kairos have been doing in that field, Brian Conlon and First Derivatives, I understand he wrote his own program for his team, you know what I mean, to say, well, look, here's what we need, let's learn this stuff direct, So it's been happening for quite a while, and it's gaining momentum. And if businesses just want, the best talent, so that they can do a really good job for the business, and they want to retain that talent, which is a big factor as well. So, that's where I think universities need to just sort of look at industry and see what's going on. And my challenge would be, how do you partner more with industry to make sure that industry experience has been brought into the lecture theatre,
Incredible. And going back to one of the first things you said, which was back to promoting and supporting Belfast, Northern Ireland. It's only good for the country, isn't it? That raises everything and everyone.
Exactly. When you look at, I mentioned Kairos, I mentioned First Derivatives there as well. There's huge companies. You take what Allstate are doing. You take even what Danske are doing now from a digital perspective. Danske in Belfast are engaging with their Copenhagen headquarters. And so the talent that we have in Belfast is now having an impact across the world. Do you know what I mean? So we're doing that now on a phenomenal level. Like what First Derivatives are doing with what they call a nearshoring model, where they've got this phenomenal team based mostly out in Newry, some in Belfast, and they're having massive impact on some of the major financial centres around the world. And that's Northern Ireland talent doing that, So so it's phenomenal. Northern Ireland's always done really well. When you go back to individuals like Frank Pantridge, who invented the defibrillator, a guy from Crossguard is down the road from me and invented the injector seat, and Massey Ferguson tractors, and from sports perspective, Rory McIlroy. We've always done phenomenally well, and you can't help but look at the debacle that's going on now with the political system and the chaos with Brexit. You sort of think, that and we do have some phenomenal politicians, and I work with them in City Hall, but you sort of look at it, you say, the opportunity is so huge. If we showed some really good leadership right now and grasped the nettle here, the opportunity, ridiculous. And that's someone like me who's got 3 kids, 11, 9 and 7 years of age. You just look and go, that's the frustrating thing, is the opportunity is so huge, and the talent drives that.
Yeah, but the people here will drive through that. We have that, and
we're driving through it. We are driving through it, and even one of the good things that's come out of Brexit for me is that I've challenged the business voice here in Northern Ireland. And I think what you've now seen is the business community have now said enough's enough. And they've gone forward and they've said, look, here's what we need. And I think that business voice, some phenomenal organisations, CBI, IOD, the Chamber, Federation of Small Businesses, etc. But I now see the business community through those organisations and independently coming forward and saying enough is enough. And I think that is probably one of the biggest drivers to Stormont actually listening and hearing to what Northern Ireland wants. Because regardless of all that you might think, from a bit of a soapbox here, but regardless if you want, back to that model I had of bringing more wealth into Northern Ireland, you can talk about deprived areas and social housing and all of those. That all needs money to make that all better. Now we should be looking at economic development and how it helps the deprived areas, but we need to be looking at the economy as a driver to that, first and foremost. So yeah, that's where...
No, amazing. And going back then, my last question, because I know I've stolen a lot of your time today as well. You had a 5-year plan for DNA. Have you created your 5-year plan for your new venture, and where do you see it developing to?
Yeah, well, Andrew and myself, like from the outset, we've talked in depth about what it is we want with Kairos, and we see it as being like minimum a 5-year project, and our key thing now is, now that we've got to market a lot sooner than we ever thought, investment's about to close. We didn't expect to close that until next year. For whatever reason, that's happened an awful lot quicker. For us now, it's just about pace and about scale and how quickly can we go at this in a sensible, coordinated manner, So for us, we're looking at a 5-year plan. We're looking at how we can grow that niche market that you referred to. How do we nail this within UK and Ireland first, moving then into Europe and then into the US, and learning from what StatSports have done really well and other companies that are out there. So we see that as being a 5-year plan. That's where the focus is going to be for both of us over that period of time. And the idea is to grow it as much as we possibly can over that period.
Amazing. I'm excited to see how it goes.
Yeah, exactly. And then we're hiring a local team here as well. So we say VP of Engineering came in, started on Monday with us, and he's now fully focused on building out a tech team and in-time marketing sales support for that as well over the next 18 months. So that's a big new chapter for us.
Brilliant. So if anyone wants to find out more about your products and what you're doing, your journey, where is the best place to?
Yeah, with Digital DNA and what happens there, if you go to digitaldna.org.uk, that'll tell you about all that we've got planning. We've planned coming up in 2019 from an award ceremony, big award ceremony in March through the 2-day event which takes place in June. And then with Kairos, it's kairostech.io is the website. You can go on there and you can see what we're up to on there as well.
Excellent, and the links are below the video as well, and in the article below in the content, so anyone can click through and check out what's happening. So thank you very much for coming in today.
Thank you.
Amazing. And thank you for watching this video again. Very interesting, amazing to see what's happening here locally. And I think we've got a hot tip for a company to watch in the coming years. So thank you for watching the video. This is Kieran from ProfileTree, the content marketing agency, and we're broadcasting out of the Innovation Factory in the Springfield Road in Belfast. Don't forget to share and like this video, and we'll see you in tomorrow's one. Thank you again.